Welcome to Money Moves, where we sit down with real Australians and unpack their money story and help them make smarter moves towards financial freedom. So today I'm here with AB South. Are you going out there?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm caffeinated up, so I'm good to go.
So that's it. Fantastic. On this show, what we like to do is get a bit of a backstory that you figure out where you've been, where you are now, where you want to go,
Yeah,
and then figure out if I can help.
yeah, totally. I hope you can, because I think property has become something that's pretty well known for the millennial sort of range, which I'm part of, the 30-year-olds and all that kind of stuff, having to sort out how to get into a home and whatnot, or what that even means, because, when you're on social media, you just see people telling you to, like, buy 10 properties.
Yeah.
Because, and you're like, how?
What does buying 10 properties mean? Like, what that even?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a wild dream, I would say. It's not like you don't just wake up and go, all right, I'm just gonna go buy 10 properties, but some people make it look that easy, and I guess I'm curious to, like, why?
Sure.
What's the point of it all?
Well, that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
But we're gonna focus a bit on you first.
Yep. Sure.
And figure out how I can help you specifically.
Yes.
Like, I'll be honest, most of my clients don't go out and buy 10 properties.
Yeah.
I don't know how I roll. Most of my clients buy good selected properties, and they might buy 3 to 5 properties.
Yeah.
Investment properties, yes, including their own home. I do help first home buyers get into the market as well.
Yeah.
But it really depends on you. So yeah, that's true. What we say is we start with our clients.
Yeah, I guess, like, for me, I've done the whole university journey. So, I think I moved to Australia when I was like 15 or something, 2006, thereabout. I didn't speak English, so I hope my English is good on this one.
It's us. Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
What's your background?
Yeah, so
A creative director.
yeah, creative director at the moment. I guess I've gone into that later into sort of, I don't know what you call career or whatever, after university, side quests, whatever you want to call it. But at the start of it all, I moved to Australia, and I was just wondering what's all this country is about, and went through the schooling and made it to uni, and then I got my teaching degree, so like a dual degree, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Education, in French and Spanish. So, which basically French is my first language, Spanish is the technical fifth.
Yeah.
So once I did that, throughout my French degree, obviously went through French cinema. Spent 4 hours watching silent films that were made in like 1950s or something like that. So very old, but something clicked there. So pretty much after graduating, I chose not to go into I guess, like, the teaching, like, role properly.
Yeah.
And I decided, cool, let me just see what's out there. Bought a camera, and this was around when content was just starting, and I just bought a camera and I was just vlogging.
Yes.
Every day I would just make a video, and then that led into knowing editing enough that, like, people were like, can you come and shoot stuff for me and whatnot.
What's if you do like that, man?
The videos, oh my god, I mean, I don't even want to watch them again, because I had there'd be I'd be nitpicking all sorts of things in there. Yeah, iPhone and Sony, which is, I'm obsessed with Sony's. We're filming with Sony's right now. They released the camera A6000, which was cheaper than any camera out there for that day, and what it could do was amazing. So 4K 30, which was like, we're like, what, on a $600, $800 little camera body.
Sure.
So that took off, allowed people like myself and heaps other people to get into the lifestyle content, YouTube, and just generating content for the sake of capturing visuals. And I really enjoyed that, and long and behold, started working with the clients, landed like a first retainer sort of thing, and made videos for fitness. And then after fitness, I dabbled in whatever you call it. You could just call me and say, come and film something, and I'll just show up.
Sure.
So I did campaigns, activewear, fitness, obviously, like I mentioned. Went into a bit of property and whatnot, and now I mainly work with cars.
Yeah.
Through a friend of mine that I met who launched the company, and it went really well, and he sort of guided me as well into sort of like the company structure that I have now, but it's mainly like a lifestyle sort of thing. I just work underneath it. Self-employed, yeah, and I just, work underneath that structure because it sort of works out better for, I don't know, tax and whatnot. So he sort
No, you don't know why. You just
I mean, it's I guess it's because it's beneficial, but it feels like it's not easy, and I guess it's not easy on either side anyway. So you still got challenges that you have to, basically go over in terms of having the company structure. But off his advice, I was like, yeah, sweet, I'll open one up, and I've been working with him for a long time now, and just building classic cars, and which has led me to now wondering like, okay, what sort of next? Because you're at that age where people are like buying properties, selling properties, and that's when I kind of met you, because I was like, let me just dive into the real estate world and make content, and I will learn
yeah.
what that's all about. But I wasn't ready for.
And you're sitting there in a company structure. I'm guessing trading for how many years now?
I think the company probably 3
Yeah.
to roughly 4 years, and then the whole journey probably 6 to 7.
Yeah, sure.
I would say, like ABN, just sort of sole trader sort of thing,
Yeah.
early days, and then transitioned over to the company. So the company probably like 3 to 4 years, I would say.
Sure. And now paying an enormous amount of tax. And
Yeah. I mean, Hex as well. So, like I mentioned, I went to university, so I got smacked with that Hex situation, which got indexed recently, so that's been fun. And just, yeah, so I guess that's been the journey, and I know heaps of other people in similar situations.
yeah, sure.
Hex, trying to do something on the side, and just figuring out what's the sort of journey to feel like you can, just be stable in terms of finances and stuff. And property seems to be like a hot topic around that.
And what does stability look like? Obviously, you mentioned property, but what does stability look like in your own?
I guess like stability in the terms of what I learned that it has become, it's like you have, assets in some way, and that can be a house, or you can invest in stocks or whatever. But in general, stability to be able to fund a certain lifestyle, whether it's, paying the rent or food and all that general stuff, and to be able to go through that journey of like a partner and kids and all that, all those, adult stuff basically that are, yeah, the adulting. Yeah. So how to have a base that financially funds that in a comfortable level, not looking to be like a bazillionaire, Mr. Jeff Bezos type thing, but just,
Down a scrap barrel.
yeah, you just want to be able to go out for nice cocktails, nice piece of steak, and to, buy certain gifts and things, toys for yourself, basically.
Sure. That's stability.
Yeah.
Which is not like an outrageous leap.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just living, really.
yeah, considering like my background, where I'm from, which, Africa's not really the fanciest of places to be. So by expectations, it's just, to be able to just be doing good.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like, yeah, I just honestly just doing good and having things be taken care of without too much stress and being on the way out.
And you're 32 now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
32. So it's 32, self-employed, been trading for 3 years. Do you pay yourself super?
Not exactly, but my accountant is we have a plan around it.
Yeah.
So, but so far we've, paid minimum that you should be doing. But that's one of the things that I learned by, when I was working with the accountant. He's like, yeah, there's all these things you need to take care of, and I was like, right, that's kind of interesting.
Has he mentioned that pay yourself first?
Yes. So, I mean, I probably did that too much in the early days, but now it's sort of, understanding that you want to take care of yourself at the same time as you're doing the hard work for the company, basically. So yeah, I've heard of that saying, pay yourself first.
It's the forgotten fruit for a lot of my clients, particularly self-employed.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of self-employed people, whether it be physios, architects, contractors.
Yeah.
Don't pay themselves super.
Yeah.
And they build up a lot of equity and a lot of wealth at their own home.
Yeah.
And they call that their superannuation.
Yeah.
The reality is that that's actually not a really bad idea, and if you're cash flowing that, because that's actually a tax-free asset as well. But if you're doing it inside a super, when you retire, the minute you retire, anything you got in super, anything that you earn on that money in there, is tax-free.
So that's the real benefit that
You're talking about trying to optimize financial situations. You really want to make sure there's a reason why the government has superannuation.
Yeah.
Obviously, initially it's to replace the pension, but super's a massive part of what you and I will encounter. On 37 this year, but over the next sort of 30 years, we will become more and more reliant on
that on it. Yeah.
so it's really important you pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So snapshot, D2, self-employed, trading 3 years, decent income, and want stability, want financial stability, and that sort of looks like a house.
Yeah, like some sort of investment. I think property, in some ways would be nice. You know.
You see, you're not bedded down to sort of 4 bedrooms, two bath, two car with kids and a family, like as your first thing. Is that?
I mean, look, that would be nice, but I think the idea of more of a strategic approach towards that,
Yes.
where like an investment property might serve you better in terms, I don't know, this you tell me, but in terms of like the tax benefits and just the freedom to have it as an investment, where it might cost you maybe $100 a week, $200 a week to retain it because the rent goes to pay for the supposed mortgage, like to buy it. Like that sounds a lot more attractive to me, and then being able to rent in a place that you actually want to be living into. So that's kind of how I see it. And if that's a 4-bedroom place that you end up renting out and living in there, then hallelujah, that's good. You know what I mean? As long as there's like a rooftop, there's a roof over my head sort of thing, and whilst being invested in another way that's smart or strategic, is like would be ideal for me. And then you can always get the home property after some of the investments, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on it. The strategic way of looking at particularly property is, and I always say this to all my clients, is you buy property when you can afford to buy property.
Yeah.
The earth is fossil time.
Yeah.
Because guess what? It's not getting cheaper, right? As we all know, everything gets more and more expensive. So the idea of getting into the market, participating growth, is really important.
Yeah.
There's an old saying, you can't outsave the pace of growth in the market. So a lot of people, when they're buying their first home, particularly when I bought my first home, a lot of people were there trying to save money, trying to get past LMI and all that sort of stuff to get a 20% deposit. Pay stamp duty as well. Out of that deposit, that's a lot of money. For a house. We're in Brisbane. Median house price is $1 million.
Yeah, which is
it's ridiculous,
bonkers. So like that's just crazy.
Well, if you're looking at just high level numbers, if you're looking at doing that, loading a 20% deposit without using bank at mum and dad, plus stamps, you're looking at saying $250,000. That's after tax.
Yeah,
so you have to basically earn.
Yeah, how do you do that?
You earn a lot of, and you don't spend it.
Yeah, or you open up a cheeky OnlyFeets or OnlyFans.
Pretty much. And that's they're the things that the reality is that I work with reliance on.
Yeah,
the reality is if you make $500,000, and you have $250,000 net.
Yeah.
Do you think you can save 200,000?
I mean, it seems impossible. It's just because you have to be paying alongside you've got costs that also increase over time.
Correct.
Versus your savings.
You pay for your mortgage or rent. You still got to pay for your car or yard, retro, fuel, groceries, dining out, cocktails like mentioned. All that stuff, that's just the essential parts of life.
Yeah.
And what I talk to clients about with my business, and to just talk about money moves in general.
Yeah.
You can't make a decision in isolation.
Yeah.
You have to always factor in what that is going to cost you. To cash flow. And looking at that cash flow at the 11th hour is one thing, but looking at it at a weekly time slots, how much is that? If I buy that investment property with a 10% deposit, all that stuff. What's that actually going to cost me?
Yeah.
Hold on to based on conservative numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's what's like interesting because what I basically know, I'm no, wizard in this sort of stuff. I make the content, like that's what I do. But you just sort of being told to just walk into a bank, put your deposit down, take out a, 1.2 or 1.1 or whatever if you're lucky enough, and then you just buy that home property and then that's it, and you work and you just pay your mortgage off. But there are other ways to take advantage of property that doesn't involve that route. And I guess that's where like I got interested when you were explaining like holding costs of like investment property versus like owner occupied. I think that's the term. And then being able to leverage the investment property to go on to another one and go on to another one, all those different things, without costing you a bulk load in the moment that you have to pay.
And that's a classic example. So you look at, so to run some high level numbers, if you look at something worth, call it $900,000, you put down 10% on that. If it's yielding, 800 a week, 860 a week, you probably, if it's a brand new property, you're getting depreciation benefits back. Probably getting, with interest rates at the moment, this is the end of May in 2020. You're probably looking at out of pocket something like $90 a week. Now that's
like 3 cocktails or something.
investment property, right? If you look at that as an owner occupier, right, with interest rates where they are today, with no rental return, whatever the property is, I mean, for a start, trying to buy that to want to live in, it's difficult, particularly in Brisbane at the moment. But if you look at that opportunity and go, well, I'm just gonna live there, it's $1,000 a week to pay for. So you're better off renting and investing in something that will participate growth. And then selling or utilizing that leverage and buy your own home later on. That's sort of the framework of questions I discuss with a lot of people in your position.
And I think like this is the difference between like trying to, not invest to the level of like BlackRock or whatever, but generally like to invest in a property to still get the exposure to the market whilst not being the one to consumes the property. Like you're living in it, you're putting dents in the wall and you're using it. It's sort of, that's your thing and you're enjoying that versus providing a place for other people to rent. And that income can just go directly into paying for the property, and you're able to then find a lower cost point to rent at that might be better than you actually owning and living in that same property. And I mean, I didn't know that until only recently when you sort of briefly touched on it.
And the thing that you have to remember as well is essentially we call that $100 or $90, we call that holding costs. If you look at what that all means, because it's all taxed up to all that sort of stuff, what that actually means is holding costs are paying for an asset right now. Okay, that asset's going up over time. So let's say there's a market cycle in Brisbane like we had recently. Let's say that property doubles in value. Right. So you've been paying $90 a week for $900,000 property. It's now worth, call it 1.8 million.
That's just crazy to say that, like,
It's crazy.
For how much you're paying versus what it's worth.
And the ability to do that and then sell down, leverage, whatever you want to do. They're the other questions. But the holding costs of maintaining an asset at that level, it's ridiculous.
And you benefit from the asset for $90 or whatever a week to get exposure to it, which when like I understood a little bit of, made it feel like that's a no-brainer in a way. But obviously you still got to get over the hurdle of putting your deposit down and being able to actually close on a good property to rent. That's gonna, all those other things that you probably work on, where it's like, hey, this is a good investment, this is a horrible investment, and getting someone to help with finding the right one and then to be able to enjoy what that then means once you've found it.
And well, so tell me that, and this is obviously a common problem is the deposit. Like,
Yeah.
Like, what's your experience been with
I mean, it's like, it's not so much like you say, like my generation, like the millennial sort of thing. You've got your HECS and you've gone to university. You're like, cool, that was like what I thought I should do. You have like that to take care of. You got your day-to-day costs to take care of, and then you also have the eventual deposit that you need to also save for to benefit from property. So we're taking care of like a lot of different things, and that makes the deposit way harder to come by, because as you're burning up more time to save,
Yep.
the cost of the property is also moving along you. So you pretty much hit this like stagnation sort of thing where you're moving forward, but the treadmill is like just there as well, running with you. So you're just on the same spot.
Sure.
And I think that's when I speak to a lot of my friends and stuff like that. It's like that's the main thing. It's like, where do you get that?
But is it going, we're not going to bother trying?
Oh, you still definitely trying, and you're trying to be smart where you can, but you also want to enjoy day-to-day activities and stuff like that. So it's that whole, you got multiple focus points and you're just contributing to each bucket as much as you can, and sometimes making more sacrifices to be able to contribute to one or the other. But it's an ongoing thing that you do in general, just to try to have emergency funds or whatever you want to call it, and to save potentially where you can get close enough to a deposit, but the number that you originally thought you needed to go up to moved.
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, I thought that was within reach.
Yeah.
Now it's like, damn, but I got no choice but to keep going anyway.
Yeah.
To improve the position.
Remember I said earlier, you can't outsell.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So
it's
I mean,
the exam. That's it.
yeah, so you've got to sort of have funds fly out from the sky or something, or borrow the deposit amount as well as
Yep.
the, what do you call it, the eventual mortgage. So
Yeah, so a lot of clients, they can literally borrow. It's similar to a personal loan, but security against a contract.
yeah,
It has to be something that is, I guess, on foot, a contract on foot.
Yeah.
we call it. So it's something where they buy off the plan with the intention to settle it a couple of years.
yeah, there's that too, off the plan.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I understand maybe a little bit about it, but being able to buy a property that's not built yet, where you just come up with a deposit and you don't have to close until the thing is built,
Yeah.
and which then by the time it's built, you can choose to sell,
Yep.
hold of the investment or whatever you want to do with it.
Correct.
But you're still getting the exposure over the market in that time that it's being built.
Correct.
Is kind of like a too good to be true sort of thing.
It's locking in today's price.
Yeah.
So you're then saving towards something that you know is tangible.
Yeah.
You know exists. That's why borrowing for a deposit in that scenario
Yeah.
makes sense, because you get the deposit, the bank gives you that money.
Yeah.
Put it in, you put your 10% down.
Yeah.
You pay off that deposit over the next year or so.
Yeah.
Or 2 years, depending on the time frame and
Yeah.
the build. You paying to that.
Yeah.
And then when it gets there, you just figure out sell.
What you want to do. Yeah. What the upper hand you got there.
Correct. And that involves dealing with a good mortgage broker that understands his circumstances, making sure that you can settle it.
Yeah.
I always say, make sure that you can settle it today. If you can settle it today,
Yeah.
there's a good chance you'll be able to settle.
Yeah. The early as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because settling, they then look at, or what in your case, they'll look at your financials in a year, last year. You're in a perfect position. Trading for over 2 years.
Yeah.
For self-employed clients that I work with, typically they have to have at least a minimum of 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year's trading to get finance.
Yeah.
2 years, good to go.
Yeah.
2 years on the books is what banks consider a real tangible business.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's excellent for your circumstances, because you could absolutely go out and for instance borrow,
Yeah.
or for an off the plan,
Yeah.
also right now, and secure yourself an investment property for like whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Depending on what your goals are. And if your goals are to get an investment, there's plenty of investment opportunities out there. You can go out and get that loan.
Yeah, what would that look like? I guess because like when you haven't done something before, you're kind of like going, ugh. There's that freeze moment that like you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go and like take what is like $1 million. You know, like you're dealing with numbers that make you uncomfortable.
Sure.
I guess it's like, how would someone that's just trying to do the right thing, trying to just get the nicer things in life, a little bit of, like a lifestyle. How do you overcome that? Like to go, I'm going to walk in and going to sign this paper, sign that paper. Now I'm on the hook for this. I'm on the hook for that.
So couple of things. The first thing is looking towards your goals. So you have to goals.
Yeah.
So in my ebook, it's the 5-step blueprint to retire through property investment. I run through a number of steps. There's 5 steps.
Yeah.
The first thing is setting goals. So what is that you actually want? If you want an investment portfolio, if you want a property portfolio, set a goal to do that.
Yeah.
I was not going to do that.
And you got to follow through, right?
And part of setting it and following through is actually sitting there going, like, I'm actually going to have to sacrifice some elements of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
For the benefit of my future.
Yeah.
That's just sort of what that is.
Yeah.
But the reality side of it is you're looking at, well, I pay rent anyway.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, if I buy this, we're just going to settle it as an owner occupier.
Yeah.
And that will be my first step into the market.
Yeah.
Then I've got something.
Yeah.
I've got something that's been in the market for 2-3 years, whatever it might be. Anyway, and then you can sell it for a gain.
Yeah.
You can, and that would be tax free.
I was gonna say there's that whole benefit of when you do get to go through the hoops and whatever to get the property, get the rise in value, and then when you sell it, there's that benefit that a lot of people are chasing, I guess, which makes it a desirable route.
Correct.
To consider.
Correct. And particularly if it's your first time, you might be able to get 300, 400, 500,000 in growth.
Yeah.
And then if it's your first time, you're not paying tax on
that. Yeah.
So you straight away just got an enormous deposit.
Yeah.
It actually suits borrowing for the 1.1 million, because I don't attest to clients going out and getting massive like loan books, right?
Yeah.
I like comfortable loan books are good. It depends on the cash flow of the property.
Yeah.
Dealing with, right?
Yeah.
If it makes sense, it makes sense on paper. And what you were describing before, there's big numbers seem spooky.
Yeah.
The reality is that someone who you're renting through right now, someone owns that best property.
That's right. Yeah.
Has that debt.
Yeah.
We're helping them pay it. Right. So, but that at some point in life, you got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
There's things to actually start moving forward.
That's right.
That's the best part about setting goals. You go, I want to do this. These are the steps that I need to do to achieve this.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging that there's going to be some discomfort along the way.
Yeah.
You acknowledge that there's going to be discomfort.
And you're not going full crazy, jumping off the cliff, no parachute type thing. You're still running to an extent the due diligence, like you said, where the ramp, it makes sense. The numbers make sense for the amount that you're working out. Yeah. So I think like that's probably where, my generation, we went to education and all that stuff, but you don't get taught like what that sort of stuff actually is in the real world. And nowadays that's our main complaint is like, we wish we had financial education in high school or whatever. But it's like, there were also degrees that teaches you that, but you didn't go down that path. And I guess learning about it now makes it more like whoa than it would have been if you were exposed to it earlier.
Yeah.
And you've got to overcome that.
Well, you're living it right now.
Yeah.
It's a reality. See, life. There's one thing learning at school. I think that every kid should learn stuff at school.
Yeah.
The minute they get out and the minute they start earning money, the minute that this stuff starts to matter.
Yeah, it becomes important.
Totally. And even if it's a part-time job working in Macca's, you're still paying.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. Hungry Jack's part-time, high school, and come in for your 4-hour strip flips and burgers and, and that was my first step into just, working.
And that you're paying tax, you're paying superannuation, and you're earning money.
Yeah, when you first get that pay stub, you're like, what's this? But you're more interested in like the part that you take, but there's other bits that have been taken out that you go, I don't know why I'm paying that in a way.
And that's the point where you can actually access letters. So the point that you're getting pay slips, the point where you can go to the bank and go, what can you actually
do for me? Yeah.
or if you're in your scenario, right, as a sole trader, you've got financials from your accountants. That's it back. Yeah. Hey guys, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
Whether that be like getting your deposit for your first property, or whether it be you've got your deposit and I want to buy something.
Yeah.
You're there. Yeah, it's pay slip or financials.
Yeah.
A tax return. Yeah. So doing the things in life that you have to do.
Yeah.
Like making money.
Yeah.
To make money to live.
Yeah. You need food.
That means you have to operate either a business or you have to go to a job.
Yeah.
You have to pay tax.
Yeah.
Have to pay
And that would be teaching, like the same thing. And you have to pay your super for sure. And I guess like that's sort of my situation really. It's not like unlike anyone that's sort of 30 and out and about. You've done your studies and now you've dipped and dabbled either in your area of expertise in your degrees, which for me is languages.
Yep.
Or you decided to go off the path and do something else that seemed interesting to you. Either way, you're still converging on the same problems that you need to solve or opportunities that you need to be able to take advantage of.
And look, with your scenario, millennials in general, I think the longer you delay, you wait.
Yeah.
Like overwhelmingly, the psychology behind getting in and starting becomes harder. Yeah, right. Because that it's like a hangover that might go away.
Yeah. It's just constant sitting there.
And we experienced that through COVID. Yeah. Where you're like, oh, happy chilling. Next minute, the 2 years.
Yeah.
Properties were like, just moving, and you were like, oh, what's going on?
Number. And that a lot of people say they missed it.
Yeah.
For me, I am staunch in reality that if you want to move forward, you just got to figure out about what's happened.
Yeah.
You have to figure out where you want to go, make a plan, and move forward.
Proceed. Yeah.
And that again, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's going to get you to goals.
Yeah.
And where you're going to be not tomorrow, not a week's time, but 20, 30 years. Is it a little bit of,
and I think honestly, it maybe used to be a choice, but now it's sort of a pick which one you want to sacrifice. And I know we're talking about property now and in general, but my generation also happened to be interested in, let's just say, things like NFTs and crypto and other investment opportunities that we're trying to use as shortcuts to get there still. Like crypto is, come about and everyone's, either benefited or completely got destroyed by it. There's shares and stock and all that kind of stuff. So not only do we have like, okay, you can do property, but there's all these other things that you're like, your brain is sort of going, how do you path a way through a strategy that involves maybe benefiting from each different entity? Not crypto, but invested property. And
it is interesting too. What you're talking about is like growing up, I had the same sort of, I guess, opportunities. Because what crypto and what NFTs and all that sort of stuff are, they're not true investments.
Yeah.
So they're what you call speculative.
Yeah.
And speculative sort of not investments, speculative purchases.
Yeah.
The same thing can be said about going to the casino.
Yeah.
Your odds are probably the same.
Yeah.
No one knows what's really going on.
Yeah, just rolling the dice.
Exactly. You are rolling the dice. So the way that I look at it, if you're looking at a proper investment, it has to do two things. Provide the opportunity for capital growth. Is one. The second thing is it has to deliver a yield. Constant return. That's why, stocks, shares, and give you dividends. They also fluctuate in value. Up or down. Depending on the stock.
How Donald Trump feels like.
Yes.
Pretty much.
That's one thing you have to be cognizant of. And like you mentioned, things like Donald Trump offers. That means that the share market for the next 4 years is going to be pretty rocky and up and down. So you have to be a pretty brave fighter to actually
to dive in, and it's that risk taking that we were talking about, right? Like,
correct. And most Australians know that they say Australia's built on houses. Australia's built.
that's why I discovered. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is it. Property.
Correct.
Get in.
That's and
As soon as you can.
as soon as you can, when you can, however you can.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really try and encourage to do is don't throw the baby out the bathwater.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think, oh, look, I need a house. I need a house. And it's like, okay, why? What does that look like? Houses, just so you know, typically have a far lower yield.
Yeah.
An apartment or a townhouse.
Yeah.
Makes sense because you're only renting livable space.
Yeah.
Right. An apartment has more livable space per square meter
Yeah.
than a townhouse.
Yeah.
A townhouse has more livable space per square meter than a house.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
There's levels to
correct.
to it as well.
And that just means when it comes to borrowing
Mm.
for something, you actually get more opportunity to borrow for an apartment than you do for a house.
Which is a thing at the moment, a few people that are like, yeah, I'm just going to get a unit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Still serves me the same purpose in terms of being able to live somewhere, but they're sacrificing whether, I don't know, it's yield or capital growth. And so, but yeah, capital growth in some shape or form.
There are things though, like there's options. I mean, a lot of people don't consider, if you're rent based, really, a lot of people don't consider outside of their own backyard.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, Melbourne right now, everyone's turning their head away from Melbourne. I think Melbourne's a fantastic opportunity. I mentioned you recently.
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I did that because it's not necessarily because it's the grind on the macro economic indicators showing that Melbourne's going to do fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to own property in Melbourne.
Yeah. And like you showed me what you ended up buying, and I was like, there's all sorts of lifestyle activity around this thing. And, you can basically see the city from where you are. You've got all these, upgraded bougie things, the millennials like your cafes and your avocados and toasts and your milkshakes and your protein acais or whatever you call it. And then you've got the workout space and your Instagrammable bloody restaurant as well. So it's, who wouldn't want to be there? I think is what I looked at. I was like, damn, like it'd be nice to.
Important thing for me is if you're buying an investment property is who wants to rent there.
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone wants to rent there. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
And who want to buy there? Would an owner occupier want to buy that? And would an investor want to buy that? Because at any one time, there's about 70% of 70% of the market are owner occupiers. 30% are investors.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this time to sell, who do you want to sell to?
Who's that going to be attractive to?
And a lot of people, when I ask that question, a lot of people show up and they say, well, owner occupiers.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I'm like, no, you want to go to everyone.
Yeah. At the whole market.
But the whole market. So if you got the opportunity to sell to both owner occupiers and investors, hit the jackpot. Property that I purchased, fantastic.
Yeah.
So people always appeal to owner occupiers and always appeal to investors.
Yeah.
It's a great location.
Yeah, and I think that's where the location. That's where that comes from. And the things around the location, which makes it a good location. But yeah, I mean, it was when you showed it, explained it to me, your reasoning and why you thought it was a good idea, and why you obviously also, skin in the game by actually buying one, just shows that you're also making decisions of the same information that your clients benefit from. We shot some ads recently where it's all about trying to tell people this information to go, this is the information you need to make this move.
Yeah.
But the reach to get people to understand it is sort of difficult. It's like you need to be exposed to the information on a regular basis, see case studies about it and previous success stories to go, okay, like this seems like a feasible thing that could be achieved.
And everyone's situation is different, and that's fine. I think like a lot of people sit on their hands when it comes to particularly property, because it's easy to not make a decision. It's continue to rent. And to a certain extent, I was there for a period of time.
Yeah.
And I was like, having a family, like
it's a part of the journey, but you don't want to sort of just stay there. You want to look at the options to move forward, basically. But
that's seeing goals. What I want my life to look like
Yeah.
in 30 years.
yeah,
I made that call alongside my wife
yeah,
with the idea that we're gonna have a family.
Yeah.
And what like where do we want our kids to go to school? Like all that sort of stuff to all considered.
yeah,
But we had to start the plan first.
yeah,
And that's something that I help a lot of my clients do.
yeah. Off the plan, yes,
Is really consider what do you want?
yeah,
You know, and like it doesn't matter what I think you should be doing.
Yeah.
What you actually want, because you're the one chasing the dream.
Yeah.
You're the one signing the docs. You're the one paying the bills.
yeah,
Not me.
yeah,
So you how best to get to where you want to go.
yeah.
But I can't do
At the end of the day, you can only just sort of help in the process and it's up to them to decide
Correct.
what the benefit that they're hoping to achieve,
Correct.
and if that's desirable to them. Like, I know, not to be too doomer with the whole millennial thing, but we're sort of like, we've got a section of us that are like, oh, just live in a van, just F it. Why would you try? Like, it's like, okay, you got to get a partner. Some dudes, like, that's also pretty difficult in some ways, and then once you do that, you put this next challenge, and it's all seeming like it's moving away from you, rather than coming towards you. And I think that affects the mentality, to be able to achieve it. And that's where people like yourself come in, explain that with your situation, this is the pathway that you can take. This is the options that are available to you. Okay, that one looks a bit hectic, but there's other support system that you can use. But you need the knowledge at the end of the day.
And that knowledge is, it's not going anywhere for you. Like the knowledge is really important. But can you see how it all comes back to the goal?
Yeah, like driving force fully,
The driving force behind it. Like to me, like living in a van, was that going to suit what? The kids, like, or to young kids, they can't live in a van.
No.
And if myself and my wife want to work, we can go to daycare. We've got to fork out the money.
Yeah,
How does that work?
Yeah.
We've got to make money, and we've got to make decisions financially, but not just about today, but about our kids' futures, and about our own. Because hey, like our kids are going to move out in 18 years, and we hope, that's
and I guess, like, that's my main sort of what I've sort of done, the whole Hexian students, age group, millennials, all that kind of stuff, to going, all right, you've got the degree now, you've pivoted away from it. What else do you do? And, that's the questions that most of people my age are looking to have answers for.
Sure.
But, there's a part of us that also wish we could just do this, and in that in that lovely phase of the journey. But you've got to,
I can tell you, there's no like quick fix in life. And I think a lot of it, if you're watching this, you probably know that, like, if you've done something, you've achieved something, you've worked for it, right? You work for it. And it's the same thing with buying a home. It's the same thing with buying your first investment property. It's the same thing with, even building a share portfolio. If you want to be successful at something, you have to devote time and urge and sweat tears, right? And I'm no different. I had the same journey. I saved for a home. That took longer than what I'd like. We still got in the market. We benefited from massive growth. And that's enabled so many different things now. To be able to renovate, to go through different things in our lives. We've been able to fund from the fact that we put in the work. Front. But it was based on that initial goal. We wanted a family. We wanted the house. We wanted to retire. Like all that stuff.
And that's not dissimilar to my age group. They, we speak of the same things. And I think that's why, if we're able to have people who are older than us, who've seen what that journey looks like, to be able to go, hey, look, yes, a bit of guidance towards it. And I think that's, speaking of content and real estate content in general, everyone is expecting you, like real estate agents, expect you to just walk in the door, you've got 2 million, boom, you bought something. Whereas there's people that are needing to be educated given the confidence and also the pathways, given their situation to work towards it, to then be able to go give you a call and go, hey, look, I'm ready. And I think that's sort of why I've been like trying to learn, is to go, well, you need to expose yourself to the information. But people like yourself who've done it can just go, hey, this is what it is. And give me a call when you're ready. I think that's cool.
And it's one thing. It's one thing to just walk into a place like and speak to a real estate agent, drop 2 million. Right?
Yeah.
It's another thing to talk to someone like myself.
Yeah.
Like I'll look at something and go, look, you might be better off doing this because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Actually, but your entire financial scenario and give you the honest advice.
Yeah.
And that's something that a real estate agent will typically point to because they're just trying to sell their own.
So yeah, they're just they're focused on that momentary time where they get to close the transaction with you, and they also work for the seller.
Yep.
And you're there in that interaction. But once they do their closing and all that stuff, they're not as much concerned with your longer term goal that they can assist you with. Whereas that's where you come in and go, hey, I'm going to be there for the first one. Then I'm going to help you depending on your goals and your situation, where you want to go to. If it's that 10 property journey, maybe you can, and you would help in making that happen. But if it's 3, 2, you can also help in that. But you're not just there to get the sales and see you later, getting your Tesla, and you go into it.
I don't have Tesla.
You do what?
But it's the relationship that matters. As much. And like these things don't happen overnight, right? And I think that's potentially like your generation. It's not the expectation that it'll happen overnight. It's that it hasn't already happened.
Yes.
That's the pain point. And there are still opportunities where, like, there are great opportunities. Like some clients of mine, they bought sort of a couple of years ago. This is after the markets had moved, and they still managed to sell on property instead of made 200, 300 grand in equity.
Yeah.
Through that time, just through
Having yeah, and I think those ones are like very interesting because we've shot some that have a aspect of lifestyle combined with like your house, so you get to have a lifestyle, whether it's a sauna, pool, jacuzzi, whatever you want to call it, within your complex, to be able to have a lifestyle as well as the asset together, and kind of feel like you have to go get a gym membership, for example, or sign up a Total Fusion for their baths. That might be nice, but there was there is these opportunities now where people have realized, okay, you millennial guys want to sometimes laze about on the pool and scroll on TikTok for 2 hours. We'll build that stuff for you. So you're getting differentiation in terms of what the properties were back in the day, what they were happy with versus what we go, oh yeah, I'd like to jump in that, like, let me sign. Especially with the benefit of getting exposed to the market and also having it be more desirable for owner occupier or investor to later take it off your hands.
Sure.
That's nice to see the market reacting to what our doomers, our generation doomers, and sort of,
that's where they're selling.
Yeah.
And then the developers, when you think about it, developers have to sell to the next year. There's got a job to do. Downsizers, they have to sell to people who are buying. So downsizers and millennials funnily want similar things. So typically what you're seeing new developments nowadays is they'll be pretty similar. Like things that they're selling are pretty similar to what you want.
Yep.
So
we're competing with them too. You know what I mean? With their big checkbooks and I love the memes where it's like boomers bought their property for like, 2 packets of chips and a coffee or something like that. And now they're just rocking up to your to your dream living, and they're competing with you. And I guess it's sort of realizing that you could also be like them.
yes,
Remember that didn't happen overnight.
Nah.
a long period of time.
Yeah.
Which is really important to remember, because perspective easy gets perspective. It's so easy to go, oh, I'm competing against this person, it's got this much money, as opposed to going, well, I can buy this right now. And then, figure the rest out later. Because if you can just control the asset, buy something, get in, then then you'll be there in 30 years.
Yeah.
As they didn't know that they'd be here in 30 years. They,
Yeah. For all they know, they're like just here,
yeah.
you know, but they've made that difficult decision that led them to that. And in some ways, they're reaping the benefit, you
I
know.
don't think it was comfortable for, even my parents when they bought just.
Yeah.
But that was a massive burden. So,
Yeah.
even though, I mean, the debt levels are
Yeah, the ratio is income versus loan and stuff.
still very difficult to imagine. My dad would sell Bobby at the, sort of, 1.5 type earning household. But, now it's different. Like dual income households are pretty much required.
Yeah.
You can get things as, a back chat there.
Yeah, I saw on Combank and like, I mean, shout out to Combank. Basically, they had a little ad where they calculated your income versus what you could take out to buy something. There was no single person variation calculation there. It was you're either with someone or you're not in the game.
Yeah.
And like, that's crazy because for a lot of people, they're like, so wait, I've got to go and like find this hopefully good person. Who knows? They could be psychotic. But you got to find them, partner with them to be able to just step foot in the opportunity. Like you're saying, it's like combined income that you need now.
And that, like, as just from a numbers point of view, really, but if you think about that, so average house price again, 1 million in Brisbane. Say average income in Brisbane's about 90,000, with something like that.
Yeah.
You look at a simple rule of thumb is 5 times N is what I turn borrow.
Yeah.
So five times N, then you add your deposit to that.
Yeah.
So if you were earning, call it 100 to round up, if you were to buy a median house in Brisbane right now, and you earn 100K, you would have to have $500,000 saved to be able to borrow the balance to be able to get into that property. Right.
That just sounds like that sounds yours. Yeah.
As the difference between 5 times on a Julik, these are 5 times
like 180 or
two people earning, 2 people earning $100K. That's $1 million.
Yeah.
So it like
that leverage really just came out there, like
massive.
Yeah.
So like having a part. I mean, I'm not the life coach or I had that other relationship. But it makes sense that part.
It's a financial decision now, lads. It's not something that you
exactly like it's something that if you're moving, particularly if you're moving with money, you're moving in that way, and you're a guy that has intentions of setting down brutes and family and all that's the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You're sort of like, I mean, you're not gonna have a family by yourself.
YOLO. Yeah, I mean, the robots that are coming out of China, those robots, AI girlfriends, I mean, some of the lads might be tempted, but I mean, realistically, you've got a flesh human in front of you and that's keen to do the journey with you as well.
Robots haven't quite cracked the employment market.
Yeah, no. You got, they're simple. You could get a robot, invest in a robot, put them to work, make they come buy the property. Who knows? I don't know.
So it would be less doom and gloom, mate.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, so I've had roughly 600 for my unit in Melbourne. To give you an idea, if you had 100K saved, earning 100K, you could borrow.
You can get in.
You get into the market.
Yeah.
Yes, to one better. You can get in the market.
Yeah.
Participate in that growth.
Yeah.
So what is that part of worth in 2030?
And I guess like the thing that is coming out is like participation. And you just go to uni and you're like, minimum required participation or attendance or whatever, 90%. They used to count that because that was the pathway for you benefiting by participating.
Yep.
And I think the same thing you could look at it as going, you know what? I just need to participate.
Yeah.
In some shape or form that makes sense. I can still go to sleep without feeling like I buried myself in debt.
Yeah.
And you can come out on the other side, having made the tough choice, but the right choice and overall benefit yourself.
And that's
on the track.
If you look at just history, just really take a simple look at history. the Australian residential market or even the Australian stock market. So Australian stock market and housing market done similar things, right? Yeah, but over the last 110 years. Yeah, they've just gone up. Yeah. So, but obviously, share I could spend like this. Yeah. And then what happens with property markets is typically they go up and sideways. So sideways and up and up again. Yeah, I have the occasional dip, but they're usually off the back of, global events like GSC.
Yeah, and stuff. I thought that you can't really go. I'm gonna plan for like a black swan event.
You can't. Yeah, you can't plan for it. So the idea is to be in market when that happens. You're not forced to sell out and out. So coming back to that, typically a property will double every 7 odd years.
Yeah,
to be conservative, it's every 10 years.
yeah, right.
So if you look at that, I'm looking at that unit in Melbourne going, all right, well, that won't sell until 2029. Okay. So to 4 years of that, I've just bought it in 2025. I don't have to pay holding costs.
Yeah,
I've just put a deposit down.
yeah.
10%.
Just signed the paper.
Some paper. Yeah. What are the chances that we're going to have an actual market cycle in Melbourne in the next 10 years? Pretty good.
It's a little more likely, given that they've taken the backward step so far,
Correct.
to maintaining, like that sort of level that you were saying. Like they've gone down, but they're going to maintain now.
Yep.
And obviously, the only other way they can go
Yep.
is that way up, because Melbourne is still Melbourne.
Melbourne's Melbourne.
Yeah.
Melbourne has amazing infrastructure and amazing job opportunities. So you think all those things and just go, oh, let's say worst case.
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, that's going to be worth 1.2 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. Like you're 42.
Yeah.
In 10 years.
Yeah. Don't say that.
If you you hit your 40. But if you had a $1.2 million asset that you get $600K for, you're pretty happy.
Yeah. See, I think there's a bit of human brain lacking the capacity to imagine what that is. It's a complex thing to get your head around, which is why you have that initial gut feeling to be like, what the hell? There's a lot of uncertainty. But like you said, 110 years of the proven, participation of multiple other people.
Not a joke.
Not a joke. So it's reality. And I guess you got to update yourself to the program instead of thinking the program is crazy,
And it just keeps going.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That $600K apartment, this year is going to be $700K.
Yeah. And we haven't touched on why, like, I guess the assets tend to go up because of there's certain depreciation of cash, right? That's happening.
Well,
is that like a thing that, or?
Yeah, look, like there's holding costs with depreciation that tends to help when it comes to investing. But why things go up is supply and demand.
Yeah.
At the moment, Australia is experiencing a shortage of labour supply, right? So enormous shortage. Which means it's harder to build stuff. It's the supply is low.
Yeah.
After COVID, they're like, come on, open the doors. We need
I've heard, but yeah, when I came was early. It was kind of calm. I would say you would rock up. Australia felt slow.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Now it's like the gates are open, man. Like it's like a lot of people, obviously from my background, would love to just blink and they're here.
Yeah.
It's an insane opportunity to be able to be in Australia. And that makes it a desirable place for other people with capital that are like,
correct.
Well, I need to live somewhere, right?
Correct. That's the idea, right? Like if you think about just fundamentals behind what has happened is COVID caused a massive deficit. So the government's playing catch up. How do you play catch up in Parliament?
Yeah.
You open the floodgates. Yeah. More people making money than tax.
Yeah.
Because they are revenue generators through tax.
Yeah. From the government's point of view. Yeah.
Correct. So open up. What is next? What are the after effects of that? People need a place to live.
Yeah. It's just like a domino. If you let the people come in, people go, well, I need a place to be.
Yep.
Then you get a rotation happening. So some people have to go up to the $5 million homes because the market has done that for you. Yep. And you just get like a sequential movement through the market at different lifestyle levels.
Correct.
And I guess that's why you don't want to be stagnant enough that you're at the entry point of you're competing with people that are just come into the country and they're stoked and they're happy to make more sacrifices than you.
And the thing is, Australia's a nice place to live.
Yeah, man. Look at the weather.
That's
Yeah,
today. It's winter next week.
yeah,
But the thing is, it's always going to be a place to live.
yeah.
We don't have Trump as our Trump our president. People I think Pauline Hanson's getting anytime soon. So red
Seems far-fetched.
we don't have to run away from red.
Yeah,
Red-headed fit.
yeah.
The thing that I always just remind people is that so long as there's immigration there, so long as there's tax benefits for owning property is going to be a fantastic investment.
Yeah.
Particularly the main reason is people need a place to live.
Yeah.
At the moment in Brisbane, there's a massive shortage. There's no way that we can deliver the amount of housing that we want. There's so much development going on in places. When I grew up, honestly, I've been in Brisbane for over 30 years.
Yeah.
When I grew up, if you told me that these places would be selling for $1 million,
I mean, Acacia Ridge.
Yeah.
Woodridge. I was in the, trenches. Yeah. That's where, Atlanta, so I was living. And I knew the numbers of the properties around me. And I was like, oh, achievable. Now, people are like moving into other suburbs because they sacrifice living in those suburbs, in some way. It's too expensive. And now, those prices. Yeah, it's wild seeing it happen. And I think that's what, adds to our like, oh crap, I'm gonna do something. Or just throw in the towel type of energy because it's happening.
Yep.
And it happened in front of you.
And it's happening in front of you. And I think the thing to remember there is, okay, well, if it's happening in front of me now and I'm not
Participating.
yeah, like what? Like, am I just going backwards? And the answer is yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
You're just getting further behind.
Yeah.
Whereas if you make the decision to get into something, that might be something down in Melbourne, which is cheap but more affordable, right? Like that might happen. The Woodridge snake.
Yeah. Oh man, I would be keen to have something in Woodridge. I wouldn't give a damn. Because just now you realize, like what. Yeah. It's give me 3 of those. Yeah, like happy days. You know what I mean? I guess the question is now you have access to things that people can buy, developments and
everything.
allotments. You have access to everything. You're like the dealer for the people. Access to
But not that sort of deal.
the nice guy, not the gateway to some amazing investment opportunities and stuff. So how would someone take advantage of what we've been talking about just now?
Jump on the website. Time to have a complimentary call with me. But that like I'm pretty no BS. I tell it how it is. I like to help people through these situations because it is handheld. It's quite easy. Helping it. It's going, look, let's set a goal first. Let's put a plan in place. If it's, hey, I don't have a deposit. Okay, well, we can borrow.
We know what always says. Yeah. You friend me that,
or we can just put a savings plan.
Yes.
And whatever that looks like, if the market moves and all that stuff, have the intent to sunset.
The cool thing that you showed me was you brought down the cost per. You could see it, the numbers, in time, what they should do. Obviously, you like to be more conservative in terms of that, which is cool because then you're feeling extra safe, sort of thing. But that was really cool, and I don't think people get to see what that looks like on paper.
Correct.
Holding cost, overtime growth, all these different things, yield, potential, value
In 10 years.
in 10 years, what that looks like. And that's probably the only thing that can drive you towards that future is like having the snapshot in paper.
And that's the goal.
Or make it a reality.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Dan, the old saying is, what is it? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I take that holistic approach with my business. Like, you got to plan. You got to plan something. You got to have something to actually aspire to. Otherwise, you're just going through life. And you're just going through life. You'll fall behind. Which is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that's the biggest mistake. So the biggest mistake is typically not starting.
which brings me to sort of the end, Matt.
Yeah.
We've been chatting for about an hour now. If you're still hanging around and
Yeah, he's still watching. Yeah.
thank you. But mate, for the last hour we've been talking, what's been your biggest takeaway?
Honestly, my biggest takeaway is that like the properties aren't waiting for you. It's a matter of getting in where you can, participating, like we're speaking about. Whether it's the property looks amazing or it's not so much what you expected or dreamed about, but it's a matter of realizing there's that journey that we spoke about where you're looking 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. And yeah, my biggest takeaway is knowing that the information I didn't know now allows me to go, yeah, cool, I kind of know the direction, which is that there's properties out there for various different prices. You can either invest, hold an investment property, or just have it as an owner occupier. But each different road basically has advantages and disadvantages. But the main thing, the real main takeaway is you've got to participate as soon as you possibly can. And there are ways out there for you to do that. And yeah.
That's fantastic.
Means I hope.
Oh, totally. It should do. I mean, for yourself as well, it's not just around the participation, it's around setting yourself a goal.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, what that goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the goal is almost inbuilt because you want to do this. So, the goal is that for the most part, if you're anyone like my age, millennials, whatever, unfortunately, the goal has been pre-decided for you. So you've got to jump in and participate and get in where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And work with someone like yourself who can give you the structured information, the pathway, what it looks like, and help you select the property that will do what you hope it will. So the dream is somewhat alive, I guess. It's
very much beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Very much alive.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Thank you so much for your time, mate. It's been over an hour, so
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being the guest on Money Moves.
Yep. Totally, mate.
Thank you.
Happy to learn the info. So yeah, change your life.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Sounds good.